Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The music fades in, and with it comes that familiar feeling in your chest, the one that tells you something important is happening just out of sight. Jays Nation, this is one of those moments. The kind you don't notice while scrolling box scores or watching 10-minute highlight packages, but one that quietly reshapes the future. The Toronto Blue Jays that made a decision so subtle it almost whispers, yet so dangerous it hums with intent. On the surface, it looks like another sensible bullpen move. Underneath, it feels like the first tremor before an earthquake, the sort that rearranges how games are finished and how fear creeps into opposing dugouts. Because while most fans were focused on home runs and headline stars, Toronto was thinking about something far more intimate. They were thinking about the final 6 outs. They were thinking about control, about inevitability, about turning tight games into routine procedures rather than heart attacks. This bullpen decision is not about patching a hole, it's about choosing an identity for 2026, one built on suffocation rather than survival, and that choice tells us everything about where this front office believes it's headed. For years, the Blue Jays bullpen lived like a jazz solo, improvisational, occasionally brilliant, sometimes chaotic, always living on the edge. There were stretches of dominance, followed by stretches that aged fans by decades. At the center of it all stood Jeff Hoffman, carrying more weight than any reliever reasonably should. Appearance after appearance, inning after inning, he was asked to be the answer, and to his credit, he delivered. But baseball has a long memory, and it always collects its debt. Enter Tyler Rogers, a signing that didn't scream, but instead sharpened its knife in silence. Sub-2 ERA, a FIP that lives comfortably under 3, durability that borders on absurd, and a delivery that feels like it was designed in a laboratory to make hitters uncomfortable. Rogers doesn't just get outs, he absorbs pressure. He takes on innings that would break others and asks for more, and in doing so, he gives Jeff Hoffman something invaluable, relief from being indestructible. When you step back and really look at it, this bullpen isn't being assembled randomly. Rogers, Hoffman, Tim Meza, Eric Swanson, a healthy Yimi Garcia, it's not just depth, it's leverage, it's excess, and excess in Major League Baseball is currency. Toronto hasn't stockpiled arms because they're afraid, they've done it because they're preparing to spend. Now, pause here, because this is where things start to feel unreal. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and support the Blue Jays Report. Every single interaction helps this community grow, and trust me, you'll want to be here for what comes next. Behind the scenes, a trade proposal has begun to circulate, one of those conversations that doesn't start with a press release, but with quiet phone calls and raised eyebrows. The name attached to it is enough to make rival fan bases uneasy. Bryan Abreu. One of the most dominant bullpen arms in modern baseball, a reliever who doesn't just close games, but slams doors so hard they echo into October. The idea is simple and terrifying. Toronto sends young depth, controllable arms, and future flexibility. Houston receives volume and upside. Toronto receives inevitability. Abreu isn't just good, he's ruthless. A 2.28 ERA, a FIP hovering around 2.4, 70-plus innings of unrelenting dominance, strikeouts that arrive right when hitters are begging for contact. He's done it in the regular season, he's done it in the playoffs, he's done it when the lights are brightest and the margin for error is microscopic. This is the type of arm that changes how opposing managers write lineups in the 7th inning, because they know what's coming. Now imagine it. Bryan Abreu taking the 9th, Jeff Hoffman unleashed in the 8th, Tyler Rogers bending reality in the 7th. This isn't bullpen depth, this is imbalance. This is the baseball equivalent of overkill, and it's exactly how serious contenders operate. Championships aren't won by hoarding potential, they're won by converting it into certainty. Of course, the price would sting. Prospects, years of control, arms that might one day bloom elsewhere. But flags don't fly forever, and windows don't wait. Toronto isn't trying to survive the post-Guerrero era or tiptoe into relevance. They're trying to attack the league right now, to turn games into procedures and leads into conclusions. So here's the question, Jays Nation. If the cost is young depth for Bryan Abreu, do you hesitate or do you press yes without blinking? Let me know in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this breakdown so far, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick with the Blue Jays Report. Because if this move ever becomes reality, the final innings in Toronto won't just be played, they'll be predetermined.